Hello, everyone. My name is Monisa Mason, and I am here with my co-host Ray Williams, and this is our first monthly mixed company event. So we are so excited to have all of you guys viewing and watching. Please participate in the conversation by leaving questions and comments and feedback in the comment section. We would love to kind of hear your thoughts on, some of the topics that we're going to be discussing today. So for those of you that are not familiar with Mixed Company is my baby. It's something that I created last year pre-COVID, which was an in-person event where I got a group of strangers together in one room to have curated conversations. So what that means is people came together, didn't necessarily know what they were doing. We had drinks, we had appetizers, and I put them on the spot and had them come up with questions to put in a bucket. So we had a variety of topics in this bucket, from politics, sex, relationships, religion, everything. And we just kind of got the conversation going. I would pull it from the bucket and we would go from there. And then COVID happened, and unfortunately I had to stop doing the in-person mixed company events, but I wanted to find a way to still be able to move forward with this event because I got such great feedback on it. And so since we're living in this virtual space, I decided to give it a go by doing it via Zoom and Facebook. So today we have a nice panel of people from my network as well as from Ray's network. And these individuals do not know each other. And so we're going to allow them to introduce themselves in a little bit, but I am going to turn it over to Ray so he can introduce himself to you guys as well.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ray Williams. I am a native Clevelander residing in New York, New York. I am the owner of a company called Brooklyn Capital. We focus on raising funds for minority-owned businesses. So that's my baby right now. I am excited to be here. Monisa, thank you for putting this together. Some of you guys I know, everyone else I'm looking forward to getting to know you. It's gonna be a good night. Let's go.
All right. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys, our panelists, introduce yourselves. So I'm going to just call you in order on my screen. If you can say your name, where you're from, and what it is that you do. And if you are a business owner, please shout out your business, your product, your service, or whatever that is that you want the people to know. So we will get started with Miss Chloe.
Hi, thank you for having me. So I'm Chloe Davis. I am from St. Louis, Missouri, but I live in New York City, and I am a performing artist, actress, and also a debut author. My book, The Queen's English, the Dictionary for LGBTQIA+ Lingo and Colloquial Phrases, will be out February 2nd. So here she is. But it's just a book about celebrating the language of the gay and queer spectrum.
All right, thank you, Miss Chloe. Okay, Ron, you want to go?
Good evening. My name is Ronald Barnes. I am from a little bit south of Houston, Texas. I am a nuclear engineer, a mechanical engineer by formal education. Thank you for the invite. This seems like it'll be something different to shake up the pandemic. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ron. Go ahead, Craig.
What's up, everybody? I'm Craig Mitchell from St. Louis, Missouri, here, and I reside in New York City. I am an entrepreneur. I have a business called CM Effect, where we help businesses, organizations, and people tell stories in different capacities. So within that, I am a marketing consultant, producer, talent, and philanthropist.
Thank you, Craig. Go ahead, Cece.
Hi, I am Sierra, lovingly known as Cece. I'm from Akron, Ohio, and I'm actually a workforce development professional and budding entrepreneur.
All right. And Miss Jess.
Hey everyone, I'm Jess Morgan. I am from Memphis, Tennessee. I reside currently in Nashville, Tennessee. I work at Broadcast Music Incorporated in Nashville as a creative representative.
Thank you, thank you. That's my family, that's my cousin. All right, go ahead, Valencia.
Hi, my name is Valencia Joy from Cleveland, Ohio. I am a creative writer. I just got published. My first book, I Met a Guy, is out, came out December 21st. I also am a screenwriter. I have a web series that I co-wrote, co-produced that's coming out this year. We're in the editing phases of that, which is exciting. I run a nonprofit women's empowerment group called Hey Sis, which just encourages women in their everyday walk with Christ, and a full-time mom.
Thank you, V. All right, take it away, Zach.
What's up, everybody? Zach Shirley. Currently live in Dallas, Texas. From Dallas, Texas, but I've lived in Ohio and Indiana for just a wee little bit. Currently serve as the director for fraternity and sorority life at the University of North Texas. So I'm happy to be here. Thank y'all for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And last but not least, Pudge.
You're muted, Pudge.
Good evening, everyone. My real name is Amar, originally from Columbus, Ohio, currently reside in Miami, Florida. I am an accountant by trade. I'm trying to log in.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys for participating in our first monthly mixed company event. So are you guys ready for these questions?
Let's do
All
it.
right, salud, salud. If you have a drink, salud. And those of you that are watching, you may have seen that we're promoting a Black business. So if you stay tuned, we will get to what our Black business of the month is. So you gotta hang in there, sit tight. Again, leave your comments, your questions, your feedback in the comment section, because we want you to be engaged in this conversation. And just to kind of let you guys know where these questions came from, we had all of our panelists submit questions to me in advance. It's a series of questions. And so I'm just gonna pull from the questions that they sent. They are anonymous, so I don't know who sent what questions, but it's a good mix of topics. And I'm really excited and interested to see how this conversation goes. And we just ask that everybody is respectful, engaged, have fun, try not to talk over each other, but definitely contribute to the conversation. So with that being said, our first question is to kind of start us on a light note. Has happiness been centered around career, money, relationships, and building a family? And has this motto positively or negatively affected the majority? I'll read it one more time. Has happiness been centered around career, money, relationships, and building a family? And has this motto positively or negatively affected the majority? I see the wheels spinning.
I'll jump in.
Okay.
Well, I think the first part, it has definitely affected the majority. We can say that when it comes to career and money, having a family, definitely those things that's like society's norm. That's what we have been groomed to do. We're groomed to, continue a legacy, to have money to survive, to, those type of things. Now, has it positively affected you or negatively affected you? I think that is a case-by-case manner. But when you look at the majority, truthfully, those things that we are pushing for is truthfully negatively affecting us, right? When we talk about stress and anxiety and this need to be part of the in crowd or to, just in general, succeed, right? We're striving to do that. And I think with that, we have this barometer that we are never going to actually hit. So therefore we're constantly, pushing for what we think is happiness, but in the meantime, we're kind of suffering. So then you have a group of people, and I don't think is the majority, but you have the group of people that decides to say, okay, I want to look at life differently. My focus is not, just about money and family and this, but it's actually about self-love and care and, making sure you're servicing other people. But I think that's the mindset of most of us. It's just that's not the action of most of us. So in my mind, I think, you know, we are seeing the effects of, you know, striving for, you know, the money and the status and, you know, what society says is right. I think we strive for that. And I don't necessarily know if we do it and still care for ourselves in the same, you know, barometer, I guess.
So I'd like to chime in real quick. So I kind of think that like this generation, like beneath us, I think those kids, right? I think they have it right. Like they're super unapologetic. They don't really care, like, you know, who looks at them in certain ways. Like they jump from job to job. Like they're not worried about stability. Like they're not worried about any of that. Like my little brother is my inspiration. Like that kid doesn't care about anybody but himself, right? Like he just wants to take care of him. And it's something that I think that we could all sort of learn from, right? Because like we're so caught up in trying to, you know, figure out what that happiness is instead of just doing whatever it is that makes us happy.
I think there's a fine line that we, as well as the other generations, you know, after us, are kind of trying to balance. Because yeah, it does seem like, you know, happiness is centered around, you know, career, money, or even just popularity. So it sounds good to say, in my opinion, it sounds good to say they don't really care, but I feel like they do because of how people try so hard to put on, you know, like we have literally, like I didn't grow up, I grew up when the internet was just coming. You know, so I didn't have to live under the same scrutiny that they did. So that's a lot to keep up with. And I think it's a facade almost to that, oh, I don't care. And then add to that, not being funny, but you have a generation where, I know the generation before us, they worked hard. They put, you know, it was like one of these things where I want to give you everything I didn't have. And again, there's a fine line with that too, because when you give somebody everything, then it's like, oh, it's all about me. So there's a fine line that I feel like that we're struggling to balance with that. And then I'll even add, when it comes to the motivation around happiness, honestly, that also depends on where you're at in the time of, like, where you're at in your life as well. Not just where you're at in your life, but physically too. Because I'm sure if you talk to some expats and stuff, it's completely different. And that's part of why they wanted to leave the States. You know, it's like, that's not what I don't want to focus on the headache that, you know, society says I'm supposed to focus on. Like, I just want to live. And so when you look at some of these other places, it's a completely different, you know, type of life. And you know, sometimes we look at them like, man, like we go over there just to vacation and they live this life. And we look at them, they're third world countries, but for real, like they're like, we're good. Just give us the necessities and we're good.
To add to that point, I know for me and just talking to, you know, my friends or whoever, that's kind of really all we see on social media for the most part. You know, not all we see, but the majority of what we see. We see vacations, we see, you know, all these luxury things, especially me. I'm post-college about 5 years now. So it's just like, you know, you're expected to get the bag, you're expected to get into this relationship. And if you're not in those two, you know, realms, then, you know, you losing in life, you know what I'm saying? And it can kind of make you feel some type of way, unconsciously, possibly, or consciously, you know, scrolling and seeing relationships and you're thinking, you know, I don't have anybody. So I think that, you know, centering happiness around money, relationships, I would say for some of us, it has negatively affected us because we lose sight of the more important things, such as self-development, such as embracing your journey. Sometimes, you know, you're so caught up into what you see, what you think you should have, that you just, you know, forget about your own personal journey, whether that be spiritually, financially, mentally, emotionally. So it can have its positive and negative effects, I think.
Well, if I can jump in, just to kind of piggyback off what Jess was saying, not to say that she stole my answer, but I feel like just with the nature of social media, the nature of societal norms that are placed upon us, I don't want to say the majority of people aren't happy, but it seems like a good amount aren't happy. And I mean, it does depend on your age and what you've been through and what you've seen. So once you leave school, you know, it's all about the bag. It's all about getting with, you know, the Fortune 500 company or whatever. And then as you grow older, myself as an example, you start placing your happiness in different buckets. So at first it was all about, okay, I got to make X amount per year and get this size house. Whereas now it's like, well, how's my family doing? You know, I should reach out to my Aunt Faye more, you know, like things that you didn't find happiness in the beginning because you were kind of, you know, trying to get yourself right according to society, get to XYZ level by this age, you know, be married, have X amount of kids by this age. And so we put so much of our effort into that. And then once we achieve or don't achieve and we're older, we find, well, looking back, I could have, you know, put this amount of time into it, or I could have went down this career path or that career path, or followed my passion more, you know, stronger than I did. So I think it does change with your age and with your experience and what you see throughout life.
I know this is, so as we're talking about this sparked a thought earlier today. I was on Facebook and I was scrolling, and one of the first posts that I had saw this morning was a post that my friend Frashik had posted. So I had to, you know, kind of find it real quick, and I'm not about to read it all because it's really long, but I think it does align with what we're talking about today. And I would just be, you know, curious to hear you guys' thoughts on this. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is a whole word right here. So I'm just going to read a brief portion of it, but tell me what you guys think. 2021 is some pressure. You are expected to be a TikTok star, a Clubhouse influencer, an Instagram content creator, a full-time entrepreneur, trade stocks, start a business with a $600 stimulus, date the right person, be couple goals, be a civil rights activist, and collect art. What happened to just living your best life and doing what you want to do? And then there's more that says, you know, just not letting social media, you know, pressure you and stuff like that. But when I saw that, I was like, that is so true. I feel like social media has kind of just put out there that you're supposed to be all of these things. And, you know, we have this pressure on us to kind of feel like, well, dang, if I'm not doing these things, what am I doing with my life? And it has you reevaluating, you know, your purpose and what you're doing. And you're like, well, maybe I need to do better with my life because social media has put all these things out. And don't even get me started on Clubhouse. Like, that's the new thing. And everybody has a platform on Clubhouse, those that know what they're talking about and those that don't know what they're talking about. And it makes you feel like, well, dang, if I don't have anything, you know, substantial, or if I'm not an expert in a certain area, it's just kind of like, it can make someone feel like, what am I doing with my life? So I just wanted to just read that post because it does align with the topic that we're talking about. And just wanted to see, you know, as we're talking about happiness and expectation, you know, your thoughts on that particular post as well, you know, as you're thinking of your response to the question.
The funny thing about that, Monisa, is that the people that are applying that pressure are trying to be those things, right? Like you try to influence to become an influencer, right? Like you try to be all of these things and tell other people you're not doing enough to sort of elevate yourself. You know, like I'm an advocate for rest and relaxation, right? Like if you know me, like, you know, I chill a lot. Like when it's go time, like it's time to go. But like I love my downtime. I love my leisure time. Like I don't feel the need to always be busy, you know, and I feel like we live in a society that tells us like you have to be going all the time. And I just don't subscribe to that.
Yeah, I think that is it reminds me of the Mark Twain quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And that happens, like your happiness is killed, it's stolen when you start comparing your life to someone else's. And you know, I being you know, labeled as a millennial, like I remember the shift that started to take place, especially when Instagram started to come around. You know, everybody was just trying to curate this perfect life, you know, put out their highlights, and that's all and that's what it all it all was. It was just highlights. You know, people were actually still going through things, real things, and you know, looking at everyone else, you know, it took away their concentration and their joy from what they really had, you know, going on. And then for, you know, with this generation, we seek purpose more than I think the generation before us, as opposed to, you know, like I want to know what I'm really, really great at, right? As opposed to my father or my mom, it was like, all right, you know, I'm gonna graduate high school, I'm gonna, you know, get a trade, you know, make decent money, make my $52,000 a year, and that's just what it was. As opposed to now, we're looking for purpose, but unfortunately, because of social media, we're looking for purpose in the wrong places.
I saw that quote today too, Monisa, and it resonated with me as well. And it all boils down to me as happiness is minding my own business. Because if I, you know, keep feeding into this social media, whatever, and I thought about that quote too, Craig, from Mark Twain, comparison is a thief of joy. I'll never be happy because I'll always be chasing this goal that I don't even know is for real. Because I don't know if they're, you know, perping or if they really have achieved this, whatever. So happiness boils down to minding my business.
I like that. My grandmother used to say, MYOB, mind your business.
Yep.
I feel like
Yep.
you know, that's kind of my whole testimony. Valencia, Chloe, I might have to get with you guys to help me write a book about it. But, you know,
That's
for
right.
the longest, you know, I have always just kind of looked at people for guidance. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it became unhealthy where I started comparing my life and what I should be doing and everything. So it really had a negative effect on me. And to the quote that you read, you know, it just hit me to the core just now, because sometimes I have to just get away from social media, you know. And during this pandemic, I found myself just finding me because I was finding me in other people. And so once I started to, you know, really dive deep into myself, I took myself out of this box, because I've always been that one friend that just had all type of ideas. Like, don't box me in because I get anxiety. So I thought I had to be boxed in. So, and taking a break from social media and taking a break from what things are supposed to look like, I was just able to find all these, you know, discover all these skills that I had. And, you know, I didn't know I could draw, but, you know, I just took time to, you know, discover me. So I definitely think, you know, taking a break from television, from social, all those things, you know, have an effect on us more than what we realize.
And I definitely want to acknowledge those that are watching right now. We got some comments in regards to the question, so I want to shout them out. Devin said, comparison is the thief of joy. So this is the trending quote of the night. I feel like there's a lot of comparing, not enough time spent really digging deep and finding out what makes you happy. Thank you, Devin, for that. And Melody said, do people even really share their lows while they're in them? And Brittany responded to that and said, I feel like most people only share their lows when they're comparing their high points. If someone becomes vulnerable on social media, they are looked down upon as weak, or told that they're sharing too much, or told that they're sharing too much. So yeah, I definitely think that all of those are valid points. We don't want people to see when we're struggling. But, you know, I'm a spiritual woman, I'm a Christian, I'm a believer. And so I feel that whatever you're going through, the highs and the lows, is your testimony. And that is something that can help somebody go through whatever they're going through. So if we continue to hide ourselves, if you are a Christian, if you are a believer, then it is our responsibility to make sure that we show people who we are, who our authentic selves are, so that we can help them, because you never know who's watching you, and you never know who may be going through the same thing that you're going through. But if we're constantly trying to come off like we're just so perfect, we have the perfect household, the perfect job, we look good all the time, that's not real, that's not authentic. And who are you helping? You're not helping anybody, because behind closed doors, we all have a struggle, we all are going through something, and we all could use some type of support or something that can help us through that. And so being able to watch somebody that may be going through the same situation that you're going through, or a similar situation, and seeing that they were here and these are the steps that they took to get here, that can be inspiration and motivation for that person that needs that. And when we're continuously putting ourselves out there as being this perfect being, you don't know how that's affecting people mentally and emotionally, because like we said, then people start comparing and looking, and then they start to look at themselves like, oh, well, maybe I'm not good enough because all of these people got their lives together, and I feel like I'm alone and I'm the only one that's really struggling, when that's really not the case. So I think it definitely is important that we get more comfortable with being uncomfortable and putting ourselves in vulnerable spaces and being a little more raw and authentic. And I think people can really appreciate that more than seeing the fake. Because I don't want to always see your perfect life, because it's just not real, because nobody is perfect. We all have struggles. We all have challenges. We all have flaws. We all have things that we are trying to work through and sort out. And to be able to be a strong support system for those around us, whether it's people we know or people that we don't know, we have to be okay with showing who we are, raw and uncut.
So while I agree with that, I think there is a very fine line, and I'm gonna coin it the Tyrese factor, right? Like so when you are showing that vulnerability for likes or for empathy or you know, like when it's inauthentic in that way, like I think that's an issue also, right? Yeah. Like if I'm really going through something and I'm really emotional and crying, like holding a phone in front of my face and crying for my followers, that's weird to me.
I'm tired of seeing that. Or people in the hospital.
Yeah, like you know, like I think there's a very fine line in that. To where, like, you know, there's this authenticity of, you know, like you guys said, like showing the comparison of your past, like Transformation Tuesdays, right? Like that's usually when people show like their highs and their lows, you know, but like really, like social media is not a place for, it's where you put your best foot forward. At least that's what most people use it as, right? Like, and so like, we can't take it at face value. Like we can't take, you know, like everyone's posts that they're just this happy or that they have everything together. Like me and Kristen, we talk all the time, man. We were like, man, if our parents feel like we feel raising this little girl, they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, right? Like, and it's like, you know, every day is a new experience. We're taking it day by day, trying to figure it the fuck out. And like, I tell my mom all the time, like, thank you for not letting me know that we were struggling, right? Like, because that, like, we take it day by day and figure it out as we go.
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually jump to the next question. We got some good responses to this one. This was really awesome. So now we're gonna shake it up just a little bit, not too much. We're gonna ease into these topics. So the next question is, would you date someone who was the whole package for you, but was not attractive to you? I'm ready to get the whole package. Would you date someone who was the whole package for you, but was not attractive to you?
Well, I'll just say, I'll kick it off, but just by saying, if you're not attractive to me, then you can't be the whole package. I know that was what Ray was trying to say, but I mean, I've been there. Right now I'm in a relationship, happily in a relationship, but before that, I was seeing a young lady. She had everything. She was beautiful, but when it came down to just like being intimate, it just wasn't there. And unfortunately, that's the day I found out that, that's a part of the package for me.
Okay. So my answer is no. I don't even know how I would get to know that he was the full package if I'm not attracted to him in the first place. Like, there has to be something to kind of draw me, and draw me towards him to even have the conversation or the interaction that creates the environment that lets me know that he has what I need. So it makes me feel a little superficial saying it out loud, but no, I don't think I could do that.
So is attraction always physical?
No,
It's-
but initially, yes, because I don't know you.
I think that's what makes the difference between potential lovers and potential friends.
Yeah.
Mm.
If you can be friends with somebody, but you're not attracted to them, somehow that works. But if you're attracted to them, you tend to want more, you tend to want to be around them more because that attraction is there. That's essentially the first step in the process. You know, if you're, in a smoky bar and you see someone across the room,
Yes.
that's what opens the door versus them, sneaking up behind you and giving you their resume. Like, hey, I have all these attributes without turning around and looking at them,
Right.
And conversely, I think that speaks to the difference between somebody who's just going to be a fuck buddy versus somebody who's going to be a potential partner. If I'm only attracted to you physically, but you don't have these attributes of these non-sexual things, but the sex is bomb, bet we finna have bomb sex until I find somebody who has these other things. So it goes both ways.
So I'll be honest. I actually have tried dating somebody I was not physically attracted to because, when you're single for, a certain length of time, people start looking like, oh, you picky. Oh, you this. You know what? Let me have some self-awareness. Maybe I am. Okay. So I gave it a shot. Waste of time. I'm not doing it no more. Never again. So
Well,
safe to say that didn't work.
At least you tried it.
I tried it, right? It was a waste of time. I'm not doing it again. It was pointless. And then you be mad, like, if it don't work out, because it's like, so I just literally gave you like grace. Like I just gave you a shot. And you just like you gave us both an L. Like
I'm really happy to hear that because I thought just as a man, I thought that I guess the physical or how we're visual creatures, I thought that we were the only ones that thought that way. So it's refreshing to hear that.
Am I on mute?
You're unmuted. We hear you.
I'm not muted. Okay. I'm gonna also agree with everyone and say no, it's just not sustainable. So everyone, I'm sure, realizes that being in a relationship is work. Like if it's casual dating, then that's a different story. But if you're trying to actually potentially build with someone, you're going to need that physical attraction to get you through the hard time. Like they can have the full resume, but then there's going to be days and nights where you might not be feeling that person, but they might just look good enough to you that you just want to fuck, and that'll get you through the rough times. But if it's somebody that doesn't really turn you on in that manner, then when the going gets rough, you're just gonna walk out the door. Like you'll be doing yourself an incredible disservice to even like start off with somebody that you're not attracted to, because it's not gonna last. Like you might get to a certain point, but if that physical attraction is not somewhat a part of the foundation, it's probably not gonna last. So I wouldn't even waste my time personally.
So can I ask a question to Zach? So you said something that I want to touch on. You said, "I'll fuck you until I find someone better." Is that not problematic? Like are you letting them know that it's just
not
that?
If you honest.
Or are you involved? Like how does that work? That you're or what does that circumstance look like to where you're gonna just fuck this person until you find someone better? That seems wild to me, bro.
So I'm the type of person, I set up expectations at the beginning. Like if it is so I'm entirely too old and too tired to be sitting up here, to Cece's point, wasting my time. So if I see that you are attractive physically, but you don't have, like, the old folks call it, or the biblical folks call it, equally yoked. If we ain't equally yoked in a few ways, like, I have a certain lifestyle from a professional standpoint that at the age I'm at now, that's where I'm at, and so if you're not even either trying to get that, or it's just not working out in the cards, or if there's no chemistry from a mental and emotional standpoint, then, but physically you dope, all right, well, let's just do this. And so luckily with the situation I'm in now, all those boxes are checked. It's physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's like we nerd out on shit, like everything. So, but I have had situations in the past where I'm like, and I've been on both ends, right? Like somebody done seen me and was like, oh, you dope physically or sexually, but our personalities don't mesh, and it's been vice versa. And it's like, all right, well, you know, let's do this until this is over with. And
I want to ask a question to you, Zach. So do you feel like that would be a waste of time? Like if you have a set, checklist, and yes, they're physically attractive and y'all are fuck buddies, why would you waste your time?
That's
I
what,
could just be
that's
looking.
sorry, Zach. I was gonna say that is what everyone does. Like everyone has been there. Like whether you want to admit it or not, we've been in that situation where we've been with someone who is not the package, but we still deal with them. We're still there because of whatever reasons, because of you need the attention, because of a void, because of affection, because of conversation. But I mean, until we've met that person, to me, then that's what we've all done, right? No?
Yeah, and I've been there. I've been like, all right, well, I'm gonna ride this wave, literally or physically, however somebody want to take it. And until the wave crashes. I mean, but I think that also if somebody is looking for only that physical thing at that point in time, it's not necessarily a waste of time until they wake up one day and be like, you know what, I'm looking for something more. But I think that it is very important to set the parameters up front, because you don't want to be leading somebody on, because the worst thing that a victim can do is go out and create another one. And so when you playing with somebody's heart and you become the villain in their story, if they really, really into you, y'all haven't had that conversation, you done created somebody who now can go out and create somebody else because they're used to that from you, most likely. And so that's why I feel like it's really important to dive into those conversations at the beginning. If that physical thing is the only thing you want, or to Craig's point, he was
shit don't work either, though.
And one day he woke up and figured out the physical aspect wasn't there. He made the decision.
And to answer your question, Chloe, no, I only fuck soulmates.
Oh, stop. Mute yourself now. Press that button, sir. You're muted. 5-minute timeout, mute.
So wait.
I know in the comments, a couple of people said that friendship is the foundation first. So you have to have a friendship with that person first. And then one of my girls said that if they're the total package, then attraction can be found in other ways. And then she said someone that she knows was told, your girlfriend is ugly. And he said, but she is everything else and they've been in a relationship for the past 6 years.
So he didn't disagree.
That's horrible.
Yikes.
So I feel like you kind of got to know yourself, right? Like, I know I'm superficial as fuck, so I'm not going to show up anywhere with anyone that's not physically attractive. So like, that's me knowing myself. You know what I mean? Like, you could call it what you want, but like, if you're okay with that, then that's something that you can do. But like, I think it was Craig that said it's not sustainable for me. Like, if I don't wake up and look at you and I'm not physically attracted to you, like, it's not going to last. Not for me.
Agreed.
That was good.
Cece, were you going to say something? I feel like I cut you off. Sorry, girl.
Oh, no, you're okay. Yeah, so Ray made a comment and the last word was soulmates, right? That was plural. So I got a question. So I want to go into a question from that. Do you guys, one, believe in soulmates? And then two, if you do you believe that you only have one or multiple?
It's 7.5 billion people on the planet. It's not just one. Like, I feel like you can literally connect with someone and not even have to have a sexual relationship with them for them to be a soulmate, right? Like people can vibrate on the same frequency. And to me, like that is a mate of your soul, so to speak, right? Like there are women on this panel that like I know, and we have been friends for years, you know what I mean, without a sexual relationship. So like I don't think that soulmate necessarily means someone that you have to be romantically involved with.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and I was gonna post in the group if he didn't say that. Do we always equate soulmates to something that's romantic or something that's sexual? But I think a soulmate is so much more deeper than that. And one of my best friends, we always joke and call each other soulmates because we're just on the same wavelength and we get each other like in a way that a lot of people don't necessarily get me or get her. And so that's like our inside joke that we're each other's soulmates. And so I definitely think that someone can be your soulmate of the same sex and it's not romantic, it's not sexual. And I don't think that you only have one soulmate, just to kind of play off of what Ray said, because you can connect with a lot of different people. It's so many people that you're going to come across. And then also depending on what phase you are in your life, because who I was 15 years ago, and I may have met my soulmate then, and who I am now today is a totally different person. So that person that would have been my soulmate 15 years ago, if we cross paths now, it's a good chance that I wouldn't look at them as like my soulmate. So
and not to say that there aren't soulmates, but you don't feel like that that terminology or that thought process is problematic. There's people that are 50, 60, 70 years old waiting on their soulmate.
Harder?
So yes, I do, right? And it's, for me, it's the same thing with the word love, right? Like there's no way that we can have one definition for the word love. I can't love my wife, my dog, pizza, and like whatever else in the same way, right? Like so even in that definition, right, it's subjective. And so I think it all depends on how you define it, Ronnie, right? Like, what do you define as being a soulmate, or what do you define as being like love? So it's really a personal thing.
No, and I understand that, but what I'm saying is the terminology or the phrase soulmate, I think 9 times out of 10, most people would associate that with a life partner. But I feel like just as we're going into the new millennium, that a lot of people have taken that, and I don't even want to say out of context because it means different things to different people. Yeah. But when you start talking about soulmates and life partners and whatever else, you'll have somebody waiting their whole life to find their soulmate and not even know what a soulmate is or how it feels, but it just doesn't feel right. So they wait for the next one. Oh, this doesn't feel right. So not to go off on a soulmate tangent, but whenever somebody brings up soulmate, it always makes me think of, well, if you're going to sit on the bench and wait for your soulmate to come by, you might be waiting a long time.
So my response to that would be, if you're that person, my question would be, well, do you really know yourself? Because to be a soulmate, to have a soulmate, that means that you understand yourself, you understand your being, you understand what's important to you, you understand the energy that is around you, and you see that in someone else. You recognize you in someone else. And so I feel like if you have a person who is just, I've never met my soulmate, you 50, 60 years old and you've never met your soulmate, then that would make me question, how in tune are you with yourself? How much do you know about yourself? How self-aware are you? And that sounds like more of a personal problem. If you have gone through life for these many years and you haven't been able to identify one person that could potentially be a soulmate, depending on what your definition of a soulmate is. But again, I do think it really is hard to truly address that question because it's such a subjective term, because my definition of a soulmate could be completely different from Valencia's definition of a soulmate. So I can say I met my soulmate 10 years ago based off of my definition, but Valencia could say, well, I haven't met my soulmate yet based off of her definition. But I do think to be able to identify your soulmate, you have to be familiar with your soul.
But that ties back into what you're talking about with they're the whole package, but you're not attracted to them, right? So let's say that you meet someone that has the potential to be a soulmate, but you're not attracted to them, or they don't have the right job, or they're not from the right family, religion. So here you are painting yourself into a box, a self-imposed box, if you may, trying to find a soulmate to spend your life with when there's so many subjective factors, not just yours, but your potential partner. So here you are kind of in this construct that you've built, trying to find this person or that person, when it's so subjective and the other person has to be on the same page with you. And like I said, you just end up 40, 50, 60 years down the line, waiting for lightning to strike.
But does your soulmate have to be around for a long period of time? Is there a set rule that said when you meet your soulmate, they have to be your life partner? Can you be my soulmate in the season that I'm in right now? Because what I see in you and what you see in me is what I need in this season. And so maybe you're my soulmate right now, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be around for a lifetime. So even if you come into my life for only a month, you served your purpose in those 30 days, but I don't think that there's a timeline of I've met my soulmate, so now you have to be my life partner in whatever way, whatever that means.
I think we should separate love and souls in marriage, personally.
Same.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, I was going to say,
the concept of love and marriage is relatively new, right? Like in the grand scheme of things, like marriage was a man giving away his daughter to another powerful family so that we can pool resources and make our families like a conglomerate, right? So welcome babies. Yeah, exactly. Like, so this idea of I have to love someone to marry them is relatively new, and still in some cultures they still don't do it, right? Like arranged marriages and shit like that. Like I watched this movie. I can't remember the name of it. It was this Indian couple. They said you'll learn to love him, right? Like, and I thought that was wild. But like seriously, like just in the last, I don't know what, like 100 or 150 years or so, like love and marriage are a relatively new concept.
Yeah, I'm just going to jump in. I was just going to say about soulmate. I think what we have to remember is that it's our soul that's connecting, not our personalities, right? Those are two different things. They're two different things. And when your soul is connecting, soul has no gender, has no race, has no any of that, has no age. It is truly that thing that, God instilled into you, or the higher being or the universe instilled into you, and it just so happened to connect with another soul, right? So I think what everyone is saying, I think we all are finding the nucleus of what a soulmate is, and that's just having this organic connection with an individual, regardless of it being sexual, non-sexual, regardless of it being a lifetime, regardless of it being a season, but it is a connection, and it is a connection that is genuine, that is healthy, that is elevating, and that is like, energizing. That's what I think in my definition, and what I'm hearing from everyone is like what we think is a soulmate. It's truly a connection that energizes us and fulfills us in ways that, unnatural ways that doesn't happen with just anybody.
But in a microwave society, who sticks around long enough to dig that deep, knowing the walls that we've set up for ourselves?
Well, it just goes back to, again, where
just throwing that out there. But
I get what you're saying, but what your thought process is again what everyone has said so far, is that you have to go inside. It's this interpersonal conversation. It's this self-evaluation. You have to not figure out what's going on in the external, but what's going on in the internal to find that. Because again, you're not going to be able to understand the presence of a soulmate if you haven't tapped into your soul, right? To know what that looks like. So I think this whole conversation, honestly, with it's actually external versus internal, right? External, like when I mean like social media, right? And people outside of us, these external influences, right? That's one part of our lives, but it's not the only thing, right? And it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the internal, us, what is our heartbeat saying? What is our mind? What is our soul saying? And also what our personality is saying that should construct how we move around. It's just, truth be told, we want to get there as a whole. Most people want to get there, but most people aren't going to do the work to go there because it's uncomfortable. It's isolating. It's all of those things. It makes you feel isolated because you're different, because you want to do that internal work. But again, most people are not going to do it. But I think we're having this beautiful panel here because it seems like all of us here have had those internal conversations, has done some type of self-work to first to even talk about this, you know, but, you know, these conversations aren't happening all the time. So kudos to you for even starting this, because I think it's most important that we have these conversations so people's minds can, you know, drift in places that's more elevating and that's more reassuring, you know.
And
So
so
that's my pivot.
I'm going to pivot to the next question just for the sake of time.
before you go, Mo, I just want to say this, and you and I talked about this the other day, and Chloe, we've talked about this before. I think that most people, and you can push back on this if you don't believe me. I think most people crave companionship, not relationship, right? And so like we want that companionship, but we feel like we have to get into that relationship in order to get it. Right? Like we want that security, we want that sense of stability, like that's what we want, but we feel like we have to get that relationship in order to get that. But once you're open and you've done that work on yourself, you can have that companionship in many different ways, you know, without the need for that long-term relationship. But go ahead, we can pivot now.
All right, good stuff, guys, good stuff. All right, we're gonna turn it up a notch or two. All right, next question. Why do women have such a hard time embracing their natural appearance? It's all wigs, lashes, and makeup. I'm gonna say it again. Why do women have such a hard time embracing their natural appearance? It's all wigs, lashes, and makeup. We ain't gonna talk about the men in these little hair pieces, but we just gonna stick to the question at hand. We'll get to the men in their hair
I was gonna say that's hard for
it.
us because all of us, as I look at these beautiful faces, I mean, everyone's natural and you know, beautiful in your skin. And I think that there's this kind of like dichotomy that's happening where, you know, it's like Black girl magic, right? And Black girl magic can be everything. It could be natural hair, it could be wigs, weaves, you know, it could be lashes, makeup, it could be without width. But, you know, it's that Black girl magic. So it's like some women, that's what they like. And then some women don't. I am definitely one of those. I mean, this hair, the Dominican, you know, but blew it out. But I mean, I'm natural. I wear my fro. I'm called naked face because I only wear makeup when it's an audition. That's how people know I had an audition. But, you know, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know, someone can answer it, but I think it's hard for maybe us to answer that because we're not part of that percentage. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily our narrative. So which what I want to say is it shows that is not the narrative. That is not the monolithic narrative, that we are diverse and we're beautiful. And however, you know, we want to wear makeup where we don't, but we're not obligated to do that. You know, it's not one-sided.
CC, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because I haven't always been natural. I think I went natural. It wasn't cool yet. It was not a trend when I did it. So trust and believe it was a journey, okay, and one that I had to work through. That took some. I had some frustrations, some trying times, and I had some transformations to where it was like, you know, I had to get to this point. Now I feel like it's I kind of hate this question because it's like, well, same reason why you know, people like Jordans, like, because on one hand, people like what they like. Now, if you want to dig a little deeper, we can do that too. I remember after being natural and I went from everything from when I first went natural, I did the big chop. No, I'm sorry. I started off with weaves with like sew-ins. Then I went to braids. And then after being natural for like 3 or 4 years, I did a big chop and I wore it short. I'm talking like down like where Ronald's was. Like I had a fade and I loved it. And I was like, whoa, I didn't think I was going to love this that much. And I rocked the TWA for a good like 2.5, 3 years. And I remember coming back to Ohio because I lived in North Carolina when I did my big chop. And it's a lot more diverse down there than Ohio, if you ask me. And so it was nothing for me to be out down there and get the looks like, oh man, that looks good. Coming back here, it was people like, whoa, like what'd you do that for? You know what I'm saying? It was a different mindset. I remember being in church and talking to this older lady, and she's like, I want to do it. I want to go natural, but I had to really sit, and this is when it dawned on me. she's from an era where for her, it was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing was to assimilate. That was how they got about. Like you needed that for like to survive. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay, there's a reprogramming that has to happen, you know, and then even with that, there's just still some things that you just like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I like my locks, but I like them long. I like them better now they're longer. I mean, let's be real. It's just certain stuff that you just like because you like it. I still like my makeup, cute little big beat face. You know, I love that stuff. So it's one thing to say, why is that? Oh, why is that all they do? Let's not do that because that's not all that we do.
So as a man, I'd like to speak on the topic as a man, right? So a couple of things, like we can't ignore the Eurocentrism, right? Like the Eurocentric standards of beauty, right? And how that has really like dominated us in the United States, right? Like not for nothing, but it just became okay to wear your hair the way it grows out of your head last year in this country, right? So like it wasn't necessarily like an aesthetic thing, like it was a survival thing, right? Like you had to wear your hair a certain way in order to be accepted in these spaces. So I love the natural look, but I don't down any woman that wears weave or whatever, right? But like I do feel that if you're doing it for us, you don't have to, right? Like if you're doing it for you, cool. But at the end of the day, like it's remarkable to me that just now the way that your hair grows out of your hair is okay to wear at work.
And I want to give a big shout out to the Crown Act, which is what Ray is referring to.
Man, it's crazy.
Which went through at the top, I believe it was the top of 2018. 2018.
Yeah.
What?
So
crazy.
Yeah, just to speak on it as a man, that is, I guess what I have noticed is that a lot of the more influential or big names do something and there's a trickle down, right? So you have like a lot of, like I said, like the lashes, the wigs, the weaves, whatever. So like if you are going deeper, or if you want to know somebody on a deeper level, and we were talking about the first step being attraction or how somebody appears to us, wouldn't that defer a man from approaching? And I'm not speaking to anyone in here because everyone looks beautiful. Everyone's, you know, just rocking it how they got it. But I guess generally speaking, it seems like something that has, you know, kind of blown up in the same way that women are going natural. Women are also going the complete opposite direction.
Well, so Ronnie, there was this shift, right? Like, so there was a time where like weave was supposed to look like natural hair, where your lashes was supposed to look like natural lashes, right? And there was this shift, right? In the same way that like these plastic surgery babes, like they get an ass and it looks like they got their ass done, but that's what they wanted to look like. So wherever that shift was is where I draw the line, right? Like if you have weave, that's cool. I just don't want it to look like weave, because it wasn't until really very recently that I realized that white women wear weave too.
They've been wearing weave for a long time too.
They've been doing it for generations, but I didn't know that. Like those bitches wear those clip-ins and shit.
I was gonna say clip-ins for days.
You know, and so for me, it's about like how natural it looks, right? But like when your eyelashes look like butterflies, like that's just weird to me.
I'm gonna hop in and say I was this close to wearing my wig.
Me too.
I was, and I don't see a problem with the wigs. I don't see a problem with makeup. I don't see a problem with lashes. I think for me is when you become so dependent on those things that you can't go take out the trash without doing your makeup. You know what I'm saying? You can't go grocery shopping. So for me, what'd you say, Ronald?
No, I was gonna say that's what leads to the bait and switch.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I've met women to say, you know, I don't like my lips, so I'm gonna wear makeup. You know, I mean, I'm gonna wear lipstick all the time, and it's just like, you know, when do we get to a point where you surround yourself by other women who, you know, encourage you,
Yes.
motivate you, tell you that you're beautiful? That's important, because if you just sitting looking at yourself all day, of course those thoughts are going to come to your head. But I think, to me, when you just become so dependent on it, that becomes unhealthy. And I'm not down with the butterfly wing lashes, ladies. Let's, you know, that kind of throws me out.
The filters might be a bigger problem.
I don't think nobody's necessarily knocking people who do that.
Yeah. No.
The filters might be a bigger issue.
But I do want to say though that like
Filters is crazy.
there's beauty and creativity behind Black women styling their hair, doing their makeup, doing their lashes. Like first and foremost, regardless of if you like it or not, we are trailblazers. We are trending. You know, it's how how my hair can be straight and when I wash it tonight, be a fro. That's brilliance. You know what I mean? And how you can be just as beautiful with or without makeup. That's again brilliance. That's Black, beautiful brilliance. And the sooner we as Black women understand that is our brilliance, then the sooner we'll be able to heal and continue to evolve and have more confidence in ourselves. But regardless, the way we style our hair and our clothes and our makeup and all of that is from, you know, centuries ago. You know what I mean? That is part of the beauty of being a Black woman. That is like our rites of passage. You know what I'm saying? From the first time you got that hair straightened with the hot comb. You know what I mean? It's like these are things that are part of us as Black women. And, you know, whether you want weave down to your butt, because I definitely have braids down in my butt, you know, I like it. You like what you like. But I think that's the beauty of us being so creative. And I never want to take that away. So if you got weave and it's pink and it's down to your butt, so be it. And if your hair is faded with a heart in it, so be it. But that's the beauty, that we can rock that. And no one, I don't know any other culture, ethnicity, race that can do that other than Black women. So
I totally agree.
At this point, though, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Valencia.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, to Jess's point, so I worked in the fashion industry for 10 years, right? And so, like, I do feel that makeup should be a part of a skincare routine, not a replacement for, right? So it should be to enhance your structure, to enhance your beauty, not to cover up shit, right? So in working with white women, like, and when some of them come to work, they look like totally different people. And that's not my experience with Black women. So shouts out to you guys, but like a lot of times, like that makeup is a literal mask. Like they look like totally different people. Well, go ahead, Valencia.
So Valencia, I'm gonna let you go, and then after Valencia is done, Ray, can we do the shout out, the Black business shout out?
Yes, for sure.
All right, go ahead, V.
I think a lot of this has to do with self-love. Like, yeah, we set the trends and you know, we're innovators and we're creative women as a whole, which is totally dope. But it all boils down to self-love. What do I like me in? How much makeup do I like to wear? Do I want to wear a weave today or a wig today or my natural today or whatever? The answer is what I want to do. Like it's what I feel good in today. And the beauty of being a Black woman is it may change tomorrow. So I may not look anything like this tomorrow. And I'm at a place where it's going to have to be okay with everybody, because this is me. This is what I want to do.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Maybe 1 month we'll have to have this discussion about corporate America on top of some of this.
Yeah, honestly, my answer to that question is white supremacy. In that period,
that's what I said from the beginning. I said the white man did it.
Period.
This was good stuff, guys. We're gonna keep it moving for the sake of time. So Ray, I'm gonna hand it over to you so we can do our Black Business of the Month shout outs.
Cool. So tonight I am drinking Uncle Nearest whiskey. So there is a Black woman by the name of Fawn Weaver. She was on vacation in Singapore, like in 2016, 2017, and she heard this story about a slave that taught Jack Daniels how to brew or how to make whiskey, right? And so she took that, reached out to the family, and came out with this, with Uncle Nearest Whiskey, to pay homage to that family. It's a Tennessee brand. It's a small batch whiskey. It should be available pretty much everywhere now, but Black owned, Black woman owned. Don't buy Jack Daniels anymore. Buy this one. And that's why we're drinking it tonight.
Yeah, so guys, those of you that may be looking for, ways, if you don't, I don't drink it straight. I know some people like to do chill on the rocks and stuff like that. But tonight I am drinking my Uncle Nearest 1884 with peach iced tea. So that's what I mixed mine with. I think Ray is doing his straight. But mine, I have mixed with some peach iced tea.
Wait a minute. You mean a Black man's idea was stolen? Man, what?
You say what?
I said, where have I heard that before?
That's history.
Black man's idea was stolen?
Right. Crazy. I mean, I just thought it was dope that she heard the story and did something with it, right? Like, we hear these stories all the time and we never take any traction with it. So, she's an investor, she's an entrepreneur. So she had bread and they launched this. It's 2021. This has been out for like 2 years now. So she saw it and launched it within like 2 years' time. Super dope.
Definitely. So every month, for those of you that are watching, we will be highlighting a Black business. It may be someone that we know personally. It may be someone that we follow on social media, but we definitely want to pay homage to all of the Black entrepreneurs out there, because it's let's be honest, it's tough as a Black entrepreneur. So we need to support each other. And there's so many dope organizations, so many dope products, so many dope services that our people of color are coming up with. And so we definitely want to acknowledge that, pay homage, and shout it out. Again, Valencia has a book that just came out, so we want to highlight that. Chloe has a book as well. We want to highlight that. I know Craig is rocking a shirt. Let's see your shirt, Craig.
By Any Reads.
By Any Reads. That's a Black-owned organization. Zach has one for the culture. Is that a Black-owned brand as well?
Black woman owned.
Black woman owned. Yes. The shirts that me and Ray are wearing is from a Black-owned business, GDH. My sorority sister Latrice and her husband Matthew, they make custom T-shirts. So they made my shirt and they made Ray's shirt. So shout out to Latrice.
She's made this? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's the one that made it. Yes. So if y'all need shirts made,
I've known Latrice since grade school. That's my homie.
See, the world is small and we all doing great things out here. So shout out to all of the Black business owners that's on the call right now. Shout out to all the Black business owners that are watching. We love you. We appreciate you. Keep going. Keep doing your thing. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged. Don't compare yourself to what other people are doing, because God gave you the gift and you are to serve your purpose. And don't worry about what other people are doing, because somebody out there needs your product. Somebody out there needs your service. So we just want to pay homage to you. We definitely appreciate you. So with that being said, let's rock on to the next question. All right. Why are there, okay, this is my question. I'm gonna put myself on the spot. I don't care. So I had to throw this in here because I've sat in on some Clubhouse conversations, and then I was looking at the questions that our panelists submitted, and it sparked a question in me, because I wasn't gonna submit a question, but I'm gonna submit this one. So why are there so many experts, books, conferences, articles that is telling what a woman needs to do, what a woman needs to be to get a man? But one, nobody is advising the men on what they need to do to get a woman or to have a wife. Nobody is advising men to how to be a husband or how to be a great man. And this wraps into the church too. So those of you that are believers and go to the church, I know many churches have single conferences, women's single conferences. It's always everything that we see in the media, Clubhouse conversations, again, books. We talking about Steve Harvey, Tyrese, Kevin Samuels, that you men tend to, y'all just love him. It's so many experts
He's a weirdo.
telling women what they need to do to get a husband and what they need to be, but nobody is uplifting and telling and pouring into the men, telling them what they need to do to become greater men or great husbands or whatever the case may be. So I want to just kind of hear everybody's thoughts on
Because men not complaining about not being able to find women.
We're not gonna pay for it.
You guys go out and say that there aren't any good men and like all of that. Like, you don't hear men saying that. Like, men don't have any shortage of women, right? And wherever women have skewed that to where the standards have shifted to where we don't have to live up to certain ideals or standards or whatever, right? Like that's tainted your pool of men. It hasn't tainted our pool of women.
Wow.
Okay.
I think to go back to that happiness model, you know, a lot of us, you know, we have a negative view on, you know, relationships and being happy. And so I think it's like a timeline. So you meet a guy and it doesn't work out, something went wrong, and you say, I'm not gonna do this again. And so you meet somebody else and, you know, something happens, and it's just like a cycle of negative things happening. So it's just like, you know, let me read a book, maybe something's wrong with me. So I think, you know, just that constant longing of companionship, relationship, I think that sometimes we find a problem within ourselves for whatever reason. And sometimes there might be, but I think we look on YouTube or search the zodiac signs and, you know, look at all these things to figure out, you know, what can I be doing better, you know, to keep a man. I can get one, but can I keep one? So.
And
I had saw a meme
go ahead.
something along the lines of, if you have all of these women that are prepared and ready, but the men aren't prepared and ready, then there's still that imbalance, because if the women are prepared based off of the conferences and the literature that they're reading, and they have all this knowledge and these tools, we're giving all these women all these tools, but we're not giving men tools as well. How does that weigh?
So I will say this, women outnumber men. So just off of that, men have more options. So to say that something needs to be said or done for men to, I guess, go out here and find wives, as men, like, we're always going to work. We're always going to try to provide. That's what we do. So when it comes down to, I guess, being marriageable, we check a lot of the boxes, not for everybody, but we check a lot of the boxes straight off the gate because we're protecting and providing. Right off the bat, that's just what we do. That's our nature. We're always gonna work. We're always gonna provide, you know, a roof, resources as best as we can, no matter who we're with. So I feel like on our ends, just being males, naturally, that's what we're gonna do. And if you want to talk about why there aren't resources for, or why there are not more people telling men what to do, is because we're always going to do that, regardless of who we're with. If we're, you know, if our mom's sick, we're going to provide and protect. If we're with a woman, we're going to provide and protect. If we're fathers, we're going to provide and protect. So I feel like we're not perfect, but that's part of the responsibilities that we are always going to have, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. It's mathematics. At the end of the day, we're not on the same timetable that you're on. It's like, for a man, we don't feel the pressure that you feel because, you know, if we don't find a mate by this specific amount of years, the probability that we find a mate doesn't decrease at the accelerated rate that it does for a woman. So as a woman, naturally, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not a woman, but you feel the pressure because you know at some point like your ability to reproduce goes away. So it's like, I have to do this by a certain amount of time, or try to find answers.
You froze. It
Hello?
was good.
Yeah, I was like, what happened?
Froze.
That's an excellent point. You know, we can make babies up until who knows when. I mean,
Yeah.
That's
In
really
short-
what it is.
In short, can I?
And
can
then,
I- sorry, my
like
bad.
Ron was saying, it's just, I'll give y'all the credit. There are numerically way more women that you would want to marry as a guy than are guys that the woman would want to marry. So our options aren't as limited.
And so
Craig,
let's
hold on, right? Craig has something to say.
Yeah, my
I
bad.
was going to put it in short. I mean, would it be too far off to say male privilege? I mean, everything everybody's saying, everything everybody's saying is a straight byproduct of.
it's the
man.
patriarchy.
no, you're absolutely right. And I don't care what anybody says, there is a double standard.
So that's what I was going to say, Craig, is that like it wasn't until I was having a conversation with a couple of my friends that I realized that me as a Black man, I benefit from the white male patriarchy, right? Like, and I get to exist in a space of privilege, like Craig said, that other people don't, right? Like, as a cisgender straight Black man, I'm third on the totem pole. White men, white women, Black men, right? Like, and that's a privilege. And I get to exist in that space where if I'm in a room where there are no
Asian.
white men or white women, I'm next, right?
I was gonna say Asian.
That's a privilege. And we exploit that privilege all the time. Like, if I didn't want to be in a monogamous relationship, I don't have to be, right? Like, if you make a certain amount of money, you can exist in whatever space you want to. And that's the difference between men and women, right? Like, you are valued based on looks and reproducing and what you can bring to the household. I am judged solely on what I can do for you. And that always boils down to money, right? Like, dick is another thing. Like, you can get dick all day, every day, right? Like we're not saying that women can't sleep with whoever they want to, but if you do that with no commitment, then you put yourself in a vulnerable position, right? To where that man doesn't have to do anything for you. And not for nothing, like, and I've spoken about this, like, the idea of no sex before marriage is not as biblical as people like to think, right? The idea actually came because if you had a baby with the man that you weren't married to, he didn't have to do shit for you, right? So that's where it came from, that you shouldn't sleep with a man until you're married to him, because then he's obligated to take care of that kid, right? So it's not this sense of morality. Like,
don't get into the Bible, bro. Don't get into the Bible, because
I'm just saying, like you guys have had to, women in particular have had to deal with like this double standard of existence forever, right? Like the women's liberation movement of whatever, the 60s or 70s, what it was, like when you guys started owning your pussies, right? Like that shit scared white men. Right. And so, like, that's why they try and put things in place to control you and to control, like, everything that you guys do, because, like, if we can't control you, y'all rule the fucking world.
And let's not forget, there is a big machine behind keeping Black men and Black women apart. I don't have any proof, I don't have any links, but there is something somewhere that wants to keep us apart. That's just how it is. Between consumerism, you name it. There's a reason. I don't know what it is. I don't have anything to back it up right now, but they want to keep us apart. And I feel like no matter how hard we try, there's going to be a movie, a book that's going to portray the Black man being emasculated, or he's going to be some asshole cheating, beating his wife, you know, I can do bad all by myself type shit that is being pushed throughout the media, pushed throughout these talk shows. And it's been, I don't know, since I was a kid, but the black man ain't been shit. The black man ain't been shit. The black man ain't been shit for a long time.
I know exactly why it is. It's because Black women are the most powerful people on the face of the earth. And if we supported them, then there would be nothing left that we couldn't do. And that's just a fact. Like, you guys are fucking amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, there's something going on. Like I said, I don't know what it is, but keeping us apart. The Black man ain't shit. We're all locked up. We're all in jail. We're all, you know, this and that. And I feel like that has been repeated and pushed through the media and these movies and all this other bullshit to where I think a lot of media's got to the point where it's like, well, fuck it. I'll stay single. I'll just do my own thing. I'll travel. I'll see the world. I'll go to Brazil. Like, what's the point anymore? Like, why try anymore? I have options. Like, why would I, you know, try to convince somebody that I'm worthy, right? I can just do my own thing. Why do I have to bend over backwards to prove myself, knowing that it's been pushed that I ain't shit for 20, 30, 40 years? Why?
And Ronnie, to your point, and like, so social media is the driving force for all of this shit, right? Like, there's this notion out there that like Black men like want to date outside of their race and all of that, but the statistical fact is that the majority of Black men that are married are overwhelmingly married to Black women, and that is a statistical fact.
I want to throw in a question that came in the comments. Latrice said, do you all think that Black men don't support Black women like we support Black men?
I'm sorry, one more time.
Do you all think that Black men don't support Black women like Black women support Black men?
So
Of course we don't. Of course we don't. Of course we don't support.
Absolutely.
We're gonna let Chloe go. We'll let Chloe go.
What I wanted to say, circling back to your original question, it's about conversations are happening in this group of Black women, but conversations are not happening in the group of Black men. And conversations are not happening how to be a good husband, how to be a good father, because you know why? Because you all have an issue with sharing. You have an issue with sharing your vulnerability and your emotions, and you don't tap into those. Okay, cool. That's toxic masculinity. I'll blame it on that.
I think that's false, Chloe. I think that's
no,
false.
I don't. Once again, so hold on, wait, Ray, listen, because you have to be truthful. This right here, this panel is an anomaly. This is not what the world looks like. This is not what our Black community looks like. The conversations are not happening. They're not happening.
How many group chats have you been in with Black men that you can speak on that?
It's enough. It's enough, Ray. Like, first, because you know what? Let's dissect it, because we talk about so many different types of groups of Black men, and it's not monolithic. You have Black men who are educated, you have Black men that went to post-secondary education. You have Black men who are graduates, Black men who are PhDs, Black men who are gay, Black men who are bisexual, you know what I'm saying? There's so many different types of Black men. But what is common is that there's not enough conversations happening about how to be the best you can be. You know what I mean? Like,
you are uniquely unqualified to speak on what conversations Black men are having.
Okay.
Because you are not a Black man. And
so then that's unfortunate, because I'm not, no, and I'm not saying I am, but I am observing what is like, I'm observing, and I'm not saying Black men I have not downed Black men, but what I have said is that a lot of Black men are not having these kind of deep discussions to really analyze what's going on the inside.
We're tired of trying.
Well, so I'm not tired of trying. What I'm saying to you.
I can't speak for everybody. Let me pull that back. I don't speak for everybody, but I will say that in regards to, generally speaking, when you see people that date out or are going outside their race, they have given up. And that's why you see that mixed couple. That's why you see these mixed babies, because they've given up. They're done trying. And
I disagree with that.
But this goes back to what I'm saying. Like, we ain't shit. We ain't shit.
Well, so I feel like we're speaking in a lot of general terms, right? And so, like, to you, Ronnie, and to you, Chloe, what I'm saying is that the conversations that I have with Black men, right, with married Black men, because I'm not, right, like to how I want to mold my life or emulate my life based on these men and the conversations that I have with them, you would never be privy to. Right. And so for you to make that comment,
listen, once again, I'm not talking about you, Ray. I'm talking about these young 18-year-olds. I'm talking about these young 20-year-olds. I'm talking about these older 75-year-olds like my dad downstairs who have not had these intimate conversations with other men about these internal things that had to do it by themselves. Period. Because and what I'm saying, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that these conversations don't happen. I'm saying they don't happen enough. I'm saying Black men don't feel supported, whether it be by the Black woman, whether it be by their brother. That is what I'm saying, Ray. And what I'm saying is, you have had the opportunity, blessed you are, to have these spaces and have had these spaces for many years, but that is not the traditional Black story of a man, period. As you see,
because we're coming up in broken homes.
Thank you. So what I'm trying to say is, I am encouraging, we don't see what the beginning question was, why do we have all of these things for women? Why do we have books for women in this? Well, why not men, Ray, Ronald, Zach?
Because
stop. What I'm saying is, change the narrative. You have the power, you have the tools, change the narrative. You change the narrative, mentor, change the narrative.
And so to Chloe's point, and I love that you brought this up, Chloe, I worked with college-age Black men for 16 years at various universities. You're right. Like, there is no, this is an anomaly. I didn't learn how to start talking about my emotions until I was 35 years old.
Thank you.
40 next month. And so there are issues that even I see with these young Black men, because it starts when we're kids, but once we go to college and there's this manifestation of join a fraternity, be hypermasculine, play sports, have as much sex with as many women as possible. Like, I see that as more of the norm than I see the well-adjusted, emotional Black man that Ray is speaking to. And I think, Ray, to your point, brother, I mean, you that is your experience. You have these conversations with married Black men and y'all are emotionally adjusted, but that's not the case for everybody. And so that is where then it manifests itself into young adulthood, into chasing after when we talked about happiness earlier, these accolades in this career. And it doesn't matter, because I can be the ain't shit Black man, but there's a stable full of Black women who are gonna be good Black women who are gonna want me and gonna put up with my bullshit. And when this one decides she doesn't want to, guess what? Her homegirl will. And looking at these men in college, overseeing our African-American male mentor program, I had a program of 100 Black men, and 4 of them was emotionally adjusted.
So I receive all of that, and I apologize to you, Chloe, right? Like, and I hear what you're saying. I think overall, what I would like to see is less of Black women telling us how to be men, and more of Black women telling us how we can support them, right? Like, I don't want you to tell me how to be me, right? Because I could never tell a Black woman how to be a Black woman, right? Like your experiences are uniquely yours, and our experiences are uniquely ours. And so I think that the disconnect is that everything that I see on social media is niggas, don't do this, like blah, 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 right? It's all about what we don't do, how we aren't, like all of that. But if we had like authentic conversations about how we can support you, then that would be a very, very different dynamic between us, right? Like, don't tell me I'm not shit, tell me what I'm doing wrong, right? Like, and that's all that I want from really everybody that I interact with. And one of the things that we do in my house is we have open dialogue about things that we don't like in a moment, right? And it's one of the most remarkable things that we've ever set up here, because it gives everyone the opportunities to feel how they feel, and then we can speak on it, and then we can work from there so that we can exist in a place of harmony. And ultimately, like, none of you guys are my enemy, right? But I as a man, like, don't think that I can tell you how to be a woman.
Well, I hope that's not what you got. I hope that's not what you got from me, because I was not telling you.
No, not from you, just in general. No,
right.
Chloe, I know you very well, and that's not what I'm saying. But all that I'm saying to you is that you wouldn't be privy, but your experience with Black men is not something that I'm privy to. But what I was saying is that, like, how Black men express themselves to you have given you that perspective.
And so what I want to reiterate is what I said. This is an observation. This is what I see. You know what I mean? And what I'm saying is this is what Black women see, that we see the effects of not having this safe space with other Black men or whoever you need to talk to. Because again, truth be told, like you said, it could be toxic masculinity. Many, I will never speak monolithic on anyone, but many men, Black particularly, have not been given the agency to hold their emotions, and someone else hold them and value them, right? So therefore it's kept in, and maybe those are the reasons why, like, we are trying to cater ourselves to kind of fit to your world. But how dynamic and beautiful would it be if this Black man evolved into being very emotionally stable, and being able to grow with this Black woman or whoever they decide, man, or whoever they decide to be with. But I'm just saying, looking at the scheme of things, that you have, had the opportunity to have these wonderful, beautiful conversations that have helped you grow as a man. But what I'm saying is, I see other men and young boys, my nephews, 11 and 18, because their father is not available. Who's feeding into them? That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, you all, if you are their mentor, Zach, wonderful. So I'm saying you have the opportunity to change the dynamic and change the narrative. And if so, we will start seeing more books about, how to be the best Black man or man you can be. You know what I mean? I think we're all tired, but we all want to evolve. We all want better for, like, the next generation.
So why is it toxic masculinity? Why is it toxic masculinity?
One second, sweetie. Hold on 1 second. Just put you on mute real quick. So I know Pudge had his finger up first, so we're gonna let Pudge speak, and then we're gonna let you go, Ryan. I just want to, keep it even across the board to let everybody get a word. Go ahead.
I'm actually going to defer, because my feedback would. I'll defer.
You'll defer? Okay, go ahead, Ron.
All I was going to say was, why is it amongst Black men it's toxic masculinity, but in, we'll say, non-Black people, it's men being men, but somehow everyone's well-adjusted, there's still marriages and relationships happening, but for whatever reason, honestly, it goes back to what I said, like, we've been pushed down and battered so much over the past half a century. It's tough because we're faced with different dilemmas. So on one hand, we're raised and we're raised by a single mom. So we have that feminine side, but then on the other hand, we're told, well, you can't show that feminine side. You can't be emotional. You can't cry. You can't be a punk. Like, so where do we go from there? We just swallow it.
So toxic masculinity is general. I'm not labeling this just to a Black
okay.
man. I'm saying what it is, toxic masculinity, and exactly.
Can you define toxic masculinity for me, please?
Just like he explained it. You are chastised for being emotional. You know what I mean? Like, like toxic masculinity is forcing this idea of masculinity looks like this. This stereotypic masculinity is like being unemotional, being strong, being direct, being aggressive. These are ideas that are associated with masculinity. It's toxic because that is stereotypically what society has birthed into what masculinity is. that's not right. But when you live by those stereotypes and make those the norm, then that's toxic. Because again, like you said, you're like, I'm not able to, I have these emotions, but I can't show them because society has told you, you can't show. So toxic masculinity is something society has put on you, not that it is a part of you. So that's, and when I say that, I'm just speaking in general as to what it is, not that it's only for Black men. It is for whatever, Black, white, Latinx, or whatever. It's whoever, but it's just this idea that is toxic, that masculinity looks like this, it doesn't.
I struggle with this term. So, Chloe, are you saying that toxic masculinity is toxic to the subject, not to the purveyor, right? Like not
both.
To the
both. It can be
to
both. It's both.
It's externally, internally.
Yourself, and
so this is the first time that I've heard of this, right? And so I can accept that. I can accept that societal standards of masculinity could be toxic to me, right? However, I don't subscribe to the notion that things are traditionally masculine are automatically toxic. And that's where my issue comes in, because a lot of things that like we are as men, or how we act as men, are deemed toxic by society or by new society. And I just don't subscribe to that. Like I don't agree with that at all. But what you said, this is why I love these conversations, because yes, I agree that how society tells me that I need to be a man can be toxic for me. So I love that. Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Zach. I know you were trying to say something. Go ahead.
So in some of the research that I've done on just Black and brown college students, period, it is, so yes, intrinsically, Ray, to your point, how society puts these determinants on us of what masculinity needs to look like, how we need to behave. Boys can't cry. I can't tell my homeboy that I love him. I can't, my dad can't kiss me, and tell me he loves me. So then that manifests itself externally into how I try, or how I would attempt if I did identify as a heterosexual man, which I don't. So that's why I'm just sitting here watching the conversation go back and forth. But it's fascinating as a case study for me to be able to say, all right, if I were in a relationship with a woman or in communion with a woman, then I have to exude these emotions because this is how my father exuded emotion to my mother. This is how society said I should exude emotion outwardly. This is how I should exude emotion to my best male friends, my fraternity brothers, my twin brother. And so the intrinsic and extrinsic influences of toxic masculinity has an all-encompassing negative effect. And again, it's not just Black men, brown boys and brown men experience this, Asian men experience this, white, but it manifests itself in different ways. And for us, and especially Latinx brown men, their version is machismo. And that is how that manifests with them. It's the same concept, it's just in a different language. But so we have to be very, very mindful of the fact, and I'm glad that you mentioned that you just really have now discovered the term toxic masculinity. I'm trying to find some more research articles and drop them in the chat for y'all, but the one that I dropped is an excellent one to start with, because it talks about just the concept of toxic masculinity, especially for Black men and boys, and how that affects us in manifesting itself with relationships with other people.
So Zach, and so I think for me, like I've never heard the term used in a productive sense, right? Like it's always used to tell me how I shouldn't be or how I shouldn't act. And so this is the first time that I'm hearing the term used in a productive sense, and how we can get away from that. So again, like love Chloe, and I appreciate the different perspective on that, because I've never heard the term used in that way. And I'll put it like this, right? Like you guys would shun me if I told you, or if I attempted to define femininity for you, right? If I attempted to define femininity and what that should look like for you, you would tell me I was crazy. So if in this moment, like how Chloe told me that like toxic masculinity is not how it affects her, but how it affects me, that's very different. That's a very different conversation.
So I would like the Queen's English. I'm going to read toxic masculinity from the dictionary. So toxic masculinity, noun, expressions of masculinity that encourage men to suppress emotion and maintain an aggressive and often prideful persona, hindering them from experiencing a healthy emotional balance. Example, toxic masculinity is a cultural disease that views femme, women, gay men, and femme queers as inferior. Because this is a LGBTQI plus dictionary, that is the example. And it says, want more info, think masculinity or machismo that negatively affects men's judgment and emotional health. So that's toxic masculinity.
I'd like to shout out, I showed a picture just a moment ago. I'd like to shout out, I believe it's pronounced Shahrazad, her 2 books, The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman and The Black Woman's Guide to Understanding the Black Man. And she really unpacks a lot of information. Ronald, you talked about, hey, there's a machine to turn the Black woman against the Black man and vice versa. So it all goes back to even before we were born, slavery days. So there's a lot that, you know, you can't really society tries to compare the, you know, Black man to the white man, and you can't do that. Even women, we try to compare our Black men to white men, and it's different spiritually and emotionally. And so I think that both women and men, once we start to unpack and look at those roots, I think that, you know, things will become clear. We'll begin to, you know, just evolve on a whole other level, in which, yes, white people are scared for us to do that, because again, we're taught that niggas ain't shit. You know, we listen to that in songs, we see it on television. So I think unpacking those roots, really digging, will help us in that area.
Go ahead, Pudge.
I wanted to ask can you hear me?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask how long we're gonna be saying Black and brown people, because are they really with us? Like, I know that's kind of unrelated, but I feel like this election kind of showed us that we might need to separate those two things. If the interpretation of Black and brown, what you were saying, is people of African descent and people of Latin and Spanish descent, if that's what you were using as your interpretation for Black and brown, are we still going to be putting ourselves together moving forward?
That is a great question. And I will say this, you have so many different facets to that question, it might need its own show, because
Okay.
The diaspora.
You have the liberal and you have the conservative. You have brown and Latinx and Latinos that they're super conservative. They're either Catholic or super Bible based. And then you also have Black people that, you know, only abide by the Old Testament, or they're, you know, super conservative. But you also have this progressive, more liberal side in both cases. So I don't have the answer, and
I didn't really want to go there, but I'm just saying I don't think that means now in 2021 what it used to mean.
So Pudge, I agree with you 100%, right? I don't like to group the terms together, because I feel like people always want to piggyback off of Black movements, right? Like the biggest recipient of the biggest beneficiary of the civil rights movement was white women, right? And so anytime that we try to get like some movement in something, someone piggybacks onto what we're doing and puts their agenda, and their agenda ends up being before ours. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Joe Biden's #1 issue is getting legal status for immigrants, right? That ain't got shit to do with us. So like Black and brown, like I always want to separate it. Like let's talk about American descendants of slaves, right? And everybody else. Understood.
Yeah, POC never sat right with me either. Like, you know, it makes you feel like we're being
franchise
and mixed in, and we're definitely not the same.
Yeah, I'm getting an education.
Well, guys, this was really great. We definitely went over our time, but it was well worth it. This was great. Like, all I can say is how great this was. You guys were amazing. Everybody's input, the respect across the board, the knowledge, the resources that were dropped. Like, this was an amazing first mixed company. And so I definitely just want to give a kudos to you guys for just really showing up and really dropping some gems. And my hope is that we can all walk away, us on the panel, as well as those viewing, that we can all walk away with some things to really process, to dig a little deeper, unpack. That's my word. Anybody that knows me knows I love to use the word unpack. Let's unpack. So I really hope that you guys have some takeaways to really unpack. And let's continue to have these conversations. We don't have to wait to have events in mixed company to have some of these conversations. You can have these conversations, you know, with your friends. You can spark, you know, these topics and everything. So I definitely encourage you to, you know, continue to have these conversations with people. I'm sorry, Pudge, your message threw me off. I was like, wait, what?
No, this was great. This is great. I could do this all night.
That's why I was like, okay, let me jump in, because this could definitely go all night. Like Ray and I did this in December as like a test run on Clubhouse. And when I tell you that went on for 4 hours, Pudge was a part of that conversation.
That was Ronnie.
Who else was on it?
Ronnie was on there too.
All right, okay. Wait, hold on.
He was the troll. He was a troll.
He was the troll. I didn't. Oh yeah, Ronnie was troll.
I was not the troll.
You were the troll.
I was not the troll, but everybody their thoughts were provoked.
Can I just take a moment to thank you, Monisa. Thank you for putting this together. I think it was amazing. It's an amazing concept. You know, just to get, you know, people in a space to have these intimate conversations, to provoke thought, to, you know, to change ideals, and to really get us to explore like parts of our experience that we might not have known that we needed to go there, right? So it's been amazing to be a part of this. And so I just wanted to thank you, Monisa. It's been awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys wholeheartedly. And I appreciate you guys for being a part of this. For those of you that are watching, and even those of you on the panel, our next Mixed Company event will be February 19th. Same time, 7 p.m. with a whole new group of people. So definitely stay tuned to see who we have on the panel. Stay tuned to see who the Black Business of the Month is. Make sure that you follow all of us, not even just myself, not even just Ray, but you know, shout out to everybody on the panel. Follow them, check out their books that they have, their products, all of that. One of my main goals with Mixed Company, outside of getting people in a room to have dialogue, is to help people expand their network. That is really important to me, that we all meet people that we wouldn't meet on a regular basis. And so I definitely encourage you guys to find ways to connect with each other on social media or outside of social media. There's ways that you can work together in your prospective careers or business ventures. Please utilize this opportunity to network and get to know each other and continue to build what you have going on, because you never know how the person sitting next to you in this chat could, you know, be a great benefit to you in any type of way, maybe not professionally, maybe personally or spiritually. So those of you on the chat, connect. Those of you viewing, follow, whatever the case may be. But I am definitely appreciative of this experience. I'm appreciative of everybody that is on this journey with us. And I definitely look forward to seeing you guys next month, February 19th at 7 p.m., same place. And on that note, we are out.
Good night. Can you guys